5:30 p.m. on Tuesday, December the 10th, 2019, in the council chambers at 803 West Holland in the city of Alpine, Texas, for the purpose of considering the attached agenda. The notice is pursuant to Texas Open Meeting Act, Section 551.043, Texas Government Code. The use of cellular phones are prohibited in the city council chambers during meetings of the city council. Members of the audience will provide an opportunity to address the council on any agenda item after determination of a quorum and proof of notice of the meeting. Remarks will be limited to a total of 3 minutes per person. Please write your name on the list so we may call you in order. Please speak into the microphone located at the podium and state your name and address. If you have a petition or other information pertaining to your subject, please present it to the city secretary. State law generally prohibits the council from discussing or taking any action on any issue not included on the agenda, but if appropriate, the council may schedule the topic for future discussion or refer the matter to staff. No personal attacks on council members or city staff will be allowed. The mayor or city council members may call a point to order to stop personal attacks. If an individual continues to personally attack an elected official or staff member in a meeting, they may be barred. Call the meeting to order. Invocation will be led by Nancy Andrews. Please stand.
Let us pray. Heavenly Father, we ask your blessings on this city council and all those who work to make this city a safe and happy place to live. When a decision must be made, a direction must be chosen. Grant us your guidance and wisdom. We acknowledge that our choices matter. May every goal, every action, every thought, every interaction be in the best interests of our citizens and our city. May all we do and all we choose this evening be done with integrity, honor, and respect for each other and our city. Amen.
Amen. Thank you. Pledge of allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible.
City Secretary, do we have a quorum?
Mayor, we do have a quorum with an excused absence for Councilor Olivas, and the notice was posted at 2 p.m. on December 6, 2019.
Okay, thank you. Now we'll accept public comments. Anybody wants to comment, please go to the podium. Seeing none, then we'll go ahead and go to presentations. We have none this month. And city manager report, I don't have one. City attorney, don't have one. City manager report, please.
Yes, sir. Honorable Mayor and City Council. Well, first I'd like to say thanks to everybody that was able to participate in the parade this weekend. It was a great event. We had, I think, close to 20 floats, and just very well received within the community. So.
And why didn't you wear your dapper white outfit?
Y'all could have taken pictures had he wore it today.
Yes.
That should have been part of your presentation.
It should have been. I missed that out there either.
I want to dive into the 180-day plan update. this evening and kind of center around, initially we were looking at really 3 key priorities in September. The department head staffing, leadership training, and our budget amendment. Fast forward to beginning of December, we've now, with David Hale starting this week, all 5 department head positions are filled that were vacant. We just completed our second series on the leadership training. Be well received with our team. And budget amendment will have the first reading this evening. We've gone through multiple meetings here with council on the work there. Yeah, so as we look at 2020, kind of moving forward, the theme really starts then taking on this leadership training as we work through the rest of that with our staff, and then how do we go down a level and start working with our frontline employees. So that's going to be a key theme of ours in 2020 is the completion of the training with our key leadership staff, and then how do we create the culture with our frontline team as well. A second key piece that we know we've got to make traction on in 2020 is our asset and inventory project. And that really relates to understanding all of the city assets out there, whether they're vehicles, tools, equipment, plus our inventory, specifically in our utilities department. We're bringing in a lot of inventory, make sure we're managing that. So we talk with our department heads. This is a way for them to help really spread out their budget. You can take your assets and get a longer life cycle out of your assets. You make sure you monitor your inventory. So 2020 with our team is going to be really focused on that. The other piece, if you think back to the original 180-day plan, was identifying initiatives, priorities, and challenges down to each department level. I put some of the updates in your packet as we are reframing those initiatives and priorities. Certainly colored some in green, those that we've completed, and this is something that our department heads are looking at monthly to ensure that we're identifying those. So that's something we're going to work diligently through in 2020. And then also community engagement. We've been very successful with the coffee with the city manager, but we want to do more. Our new police chief, Chief Martin, wants to get out in the community. We also want to get our city blog back online, the city manager blog, and then also get inputs from our department heads on that, so that we do a great job at communicating within the community. So at a high level, that's really part of our mantra right now. As we come down to I'm going to talk about billing updates for the next 5 or 6 meetings because this is going to be something that is going to be very important within the community. We just pulled our reports for this past month on water. 30% of our citizen base or customer base did not make their water payments on time.
So this is 30% of 2,500 accounts?
Correct.
So, being a slow one here, that's nearly 800
Correct.
delinquent bills.
Correct. And so it is a mounting problem. February of 2020 is going to be the time frame that we're going to move those water cutoffs back up to 1 month in arrears. Currently, we're at 2 months. So I think what people are doing is they understand they can get a couple months behind. And the reason why I want to make this very forward in communications and city manager reports is because I don't want any of you to get caught off guard in February when we start doing these cutoffs. Because it's going to be, if we've got to go shut off 800 taps in a day or over a couple of days, it's going to be a challenge. And so we're working through that. Now, on the flip side, Stephanie continues to make great headway on those delinquent accounts. She's up to about 6,000 now. She's collected, so congrats to her and her team for their diligence.
So I just want to go back to water. I'm just trying to quantify this. So about 800 accounts, that's $150,000 of late payments.
Yeah.
I'm just kind of, it's certainly in the $50,000 to $60,000 range.
Right.
Wow.
And so what we really want to make sure we do is pull everybody in and get them paying on time. Also, time value of money, right?
Yep.
Gas, we're doing our cutoffs at 1 month. So we won't have to make any adjustments there. Part of the reason that we talk about that I want to do it in February versus March is I'm going to need Eddie's team out of Public Works to help us. And their works in preparing the streets and our parks team really become much more of a hard push in March. So we want to get this done in February. Oh, change gears a little bit. We continue to see quite a bit of success in our human resources. Lorena's doing a fantastic job there. We're getting some really nice applicants in the front door for some of our frontline positions as well. As I mentioned earlier, our first and second class of our leadership training has been complete. Very, very successful, very positive feedback from our team. Anybody who has not read the book, Zap, pick that up. You have a chance. And then, I sent out an email last week on the last copy of the city manager. We had over 20 people at the library. I'm working right now on the location. One of the suggestions of the last copy of city manager is we maybe do the next one up at the Alpine Country Club in their open room there. And so I reached out to their board president to see if we could get space there in January. Wastewater treatment plant. On your desk in front of you, I asked Scott to kind of give a brief update and analysis that you could certainly take home with you. But he'll give a full report in January. This week he's at that touch-up training class, and we'll take a test for his B license this next week. A couple of highlights. And I know Scott has mentioned this before. Our wastewater treatment plant is basically almost full of anaerobic solids. Our belt press that we purchased, that the city purchased, is due to be installed December 17th. So then the goal there is to really start pressing out those solids. That will provide some nice reprieve to the wastewater treatment plant. So that's highlighted in those bullet points there. Clarifier number 1, we've got two clarifiers out there. Clarifier 1, we experienced a failure on that. John Skinner is working with us on the remediation of that. It's basically a deferred maintenance issue. Some of the gearing there failed. We're working to get that back online ASAP. The plant is still functioning, but it's certainly one that we're driving at. The other kind of high bar piece that Scott and I continue to work through is on that aerator. It is slower getting that thing procured than we would like. We've been pushing the engineering specs hard with Park Hill, Smith & Cooper. They're not acting as quick as I'd like. So Scott and I are pushing with them. I wish I had a better update other than we feel like we'll have it procured by the first couple weeks of January. There are also a couple other current events that we identified. One of the piece parts that is important to us, and this spans back for really several years. I mean, we could almost call it decades. We've got a lot of people in town that collect from septic, and then they're dumping in very close to the head of our plant. And sometimes the septic is not at good quality. And then what happens is you're mixing this septic in with the plant that's trying to, biologically deal with the solids that are coming in. And so one of the things that Scott and I are talking about, and he identified there, is how do we come back to a place where we ask the vendors, or we not ask, but we instruct the vendors to have a specific drop-off place, a little farther upstream, so it, and then we do a little bit more monitoring of that septic as it's coming in. And one of the challenges we've had at the wastewater treatment plant is that constant turnover of employees out there. And so having, tenure with your employees and experience, and then also being able to monitor the septic that's being dropped off as well. So we've got to really contemplate building a drop-off station a little farther back in the process, and then tightening down on how we monitor what's being brought in. The technical side of that, I will defer to Scott explaining that, but these are some of the points he'll talk about in January.
So, a question. So the belt press takes care of all the crud, the anaerobic, as you say, the stuff doesn't work anymore, belt pressing it. What's the clarifier do?
So after it comes out of the racetrack with the aeration ditch, it then goes to the clarifier, and it basically circulates in any of that sludge blanket. So your clarifier is about 15 foot deep. And
Okay.
so
it's further settling out.
it further settles out,
Okay.
and then that's what they waste into the drying beds
Gotcha.
from that point.
Thank you. Okay.
So your clarifier right now, your sludge blanket is up close to 1 to 2 feet from the top.
Yep.
So what you want to do is you want to start wasting all of that out, and then that allows from your racetrack more to come in, some of that dead stuff to come in,
Yep.
and then you just keep wasting. So we'll waste, we'll run that belt press for probably 2 months straight.
So, yeah.
And then we just, the polymer that mixes with it then allows it to dry, and then it passes the paint test, and then we can take it out to landfill.
Yep. Thanks.
So, and John Skinner's been, Skinner Well Service, John's a good guy. I mean, he supports the city, and he's been working with us and ensuring that we get good local support as well. UP, wow. This is a hot topic that comes across my desk, and I think the crew change on the westbound traffic that they've been coming up to the platform. Chief Martin, David Hale, and myself were on a call with UP this morning, and backing up a little bit, December of '97, the city had worked with UP, and at that point, they had contemplated crew changes for the westbound traffic to occur on the east side of Highway 118. There was a commitment from UP to do that. There's a commitment for the train crews to be ready to depart, so you didn't have longer changeovers. And then, certainly every effort was made to be safe and efficient. Fast forward to today, between UP and their union, they're not willing to change on the east side. Their directive is to change at the platform.
I need to add, though, that was what they told Pecos, and Pecos kept complaining, and they kept saying, oh, the union says we gotta do this and we gotta do that. And the Union Pacific has made a nice platform on the west side of Pecos where crew changes happen east and west now.
Yeah.
So there's solutions that can be done.
So the nature of the conversation today was, ask us what specs would be acceptable, because they've cited poor lighting and crossing of the street being an issue. We got into the discussion of crossing the street. My position is, if you can operate a multi-million-dollar machine, you should be able to cross the street in a small town with relative ease. But instead of us just going and building and constructing more light or some sort of area for them to step off of, I'd like to get specifically from UP what they would agree to as far as conditions on that east side. And so they're to deliver that back to us within a couple of weeks. I've actually got to send a formal request to UP tomorrow on that. And Ivan Jaime also committed to reviewing back with their staff the importance to be ready for the changeover as the train comes into town. Part of the delay that we see, and as we shared with UP, we see the crew that's changing over, we see them at the restaurant, we see them at the grocery store. And our request is that they be ready for the change when the train comes into town, so that it's as efficient as possible. The other piece that Ivan asked was whether we were still contemplating a relocation of that crew change site, either to the east or the west side of town. I shared with him that we certainly would like to explore that conversation more fully with them, whether we go all the way to the east where it starts bending right before the Y, and then also looking at that longer term corridor planning. He has been involved with Vicky Grosco's group. He's been on a call with them. He's going to meet with them again to talk about the traffic on the train. And of course, Trans-Pacifico impacts them because they joint rail for 11 miles west of Alpine. And then I threw out at him, well, you know, what if we contemplated even moving the rail? And they have a process in place where they contemplate that. Odom, Texas, New Braunfels, Texas were two places that they listed. So that is something that they're open to working with us on as well. So I think it was an important call today. I was certainly very glad to have Chief Martin on the call with us, and you know, David Hale, second day on the job here, you know, is jumping on with us as well. So all in all, it is front and center for us to work on. So you know, folks around town have not been bashful to reach out to me, and I welcome all the calls and the discussions. You know, it does come up at the coffee with city manager as well. You know, it's good dialogue.
Pecos Union Pacific paid for their own crew change site, which is flat, has a light, has a platform, has all of the amenities that they want.
Yeah, I think they're certainly willing to engage with us. Lechuguilla Development, Sunset Gardens. David, I could give David a lot of credit. He just walked in, jumped right on topics. Went out on site yesterday, met with their architect, already working with them on some suggestions. We are scheduled to meet with that developer next week on site. Roy should be here in town, and part of the big piece that we're really looking at is ensuring that that road that as it gets paved, that it not only meets our spec, but we also honor John and Elaine's property to the north of that as well, and look to see if there's a way that we can pull this road together that makes sense for all those involved. And so that'll be the purpose of the meeting on the 19th. I'll report back to council on January 7th. The last part is really our finance report. I kind of pulled that into my city manager report, but we've got Megan here and she'll pop up as well. You know, we sent out the summary through the first month, and of course a lot of what we're looking at right now will change a little bit as we work through the amendment. And you know, more than anything, if you look at you know, general fund, we're really on track through month one. Megan actually got out month two stats to the department heads today, and so they're starting to track and work through that. So you know, a couple of highlights are listed up here on the board as well. The Some of the enterprise fund revenues are things that I'm trying to zero in on right now. Water, wastewater, obviously with the work that Stephanie's doing on the billing. Also our airport board, worked with our team on that fuel price increase, and we're showing some positive impacts there. And then certainly tracking our gas revenues as well. We are seeing more. I was looking at the new report that Megan sent out today. We've got more people registering for Airbnbs. I'll give a little shout out to Dick and Jean Zimmer. Although they're my parents, they are tracking as the #1 Airbnb submitting hotel occupancy tax through the first 2 months of the year. So congrats to them for making a good showing. And our next debt payment is due in March 2020. Our amended budget obviously is action item 2 tonight. We've got audit coming up with Gibson Ruddock. Megan and her team are in full swing. I met with them last week. They've got their tasks out for them. January is going to be a super busy month for them because beyond just producing the monthly financial reports, they'll be working with the auditor. This year, the 1095s that go out relative to the Affordable Care Act, we've got the encumbrance of having to do them ourselves instead of a third party doing them for us. So Megan's got her team working on the back end, getting ready to produce that. So all in all, great team. Next month I'll have Scott, Perry, Chief Martin, and Megan, all three back to back for department head reports. Okay. Cool. That's it.
Great report, thank you. Go ahead and take care of the city updates. Step updates.
Jennifer's next.
Jennifer.
Have you all had a chance to look over the paperwork that I provided? Does anybody have any questions about that?
I've got one, it says animal found.
Yes, so those are animals that came in as stray.
And they're picked up.
Yeah, picked up by the officers.
Okay.
Yeah, but sometimes they come in by the public too. They're found on the street. So, it's pretty much straightforward. I tried to break it down between cats and dogs, but I think that's important to think about too. Sometimes you think stray, first thing you think of is the loose dogs that are running out of town. That kind of, that's usually what people think. So I wanted to make sure that you guys did see the difference between cat and dog intake and where we're finding them. I don't know if it, if it means anything, the areas that we are finding them or not. I think it'll be interesting to see, down the road once I keep collecting this data to see if we do actually have problem areas in the future. Other numbers that I did provide were the feral cat population. This is just feral cats that have come through our shelter. This, I believe, is not even a dent of what we have in our community. So as you can see, that is a huge issue. It also is affecting our live release rates because that does count. So these feral cats that come in and they're not adoptable, they're being euthanized. So it decreases our live release rate significantly. They're not adoptable. We haven't euthanized an adoptable animal in many years. But this also affects those stats. So.
Are you getting a lot of complaints on the feral cats?
Most of what we supply several live traps to the community,
Okay.
and most of them are out at all times. So it is a constant thing. We do have several people that do trap neuter return, which is something that I think that we need to strongly consider to try and get our population of feral cats down. And that's trapping them, getting them fixed and putting them back. Because that will at least, you know, keep them from reproducing at the very least. I mean, they're not coming from anywhere else. We are making them here. You know, they're not traveling from Marfa and Fort Davis and Fort Stockton. These things are right here. So it should be a simple fix, you think, but we need everybody on board. Everybody on board to fix it. So.
And then one of the things is so many folks feed the feral cats and not realizing what happens at the end, because I see so many, and they all hang around one little area because they're being fed by the neighborhood.
Yeah, and that's, I mean, that is okay to an extent if you are taking care of a colony, in my opinion. If you're getting them fixed, you know, if you found a problem and you want to make sure that they're happy and healthy and whatever, okay,
Yep.
so be it. But get them fixed, so we're not just making hundreds and hundreds of more cats. That's the bottom line. You can see by, if you go to where our cat intakes, compared to our cats that are actually reunited with their owners, very significant difference between the cats and the dogs. So those cats are coming into our shelters and people aren't claiming them, and then we are stuck with having to try and find them either homes or transport them. And these are just the adoptable cats. So, I mean, even the ones that are breeding out there and they're coming in as kittens and they're adoptable and everything's great, well, we still have to find them homes, which has become a pretty big problem as well because there's just not enough homes. And I mean, you can see that we are doing transports. Majority of our transports are dogs. The cat transports are few and far between because there are just so many of them and not enough places for them to go.
So Jennifer, if we're aware of a spot where we know people are feeding feral cats, what should we do?
We would like to know about that. We do have some people that are interested in helping people with TNR if that's something that a part of a community would be interested in. If not, we'll go and set some traps and we'll pick them up and we'll euthanize. I know that's the sad reality of the beast, but
I think to your point, if you can get them sterilized, at least that provides people an opportunity. If they're willing to collect the feral cats, bring them in, get them sterilized, get them back out, that at least gets in the right direction.
right. Yeah, that's, I mean, I full-heartedly support that.
Okay.
So.
Thank you.
Are you having any success with the store? Fish store?
We have, half of the cats actually are AHS foster cats right now, but half of them are ours. So we have 12 cats over there. We have not had an adoption out of there in several weeks, but we are putting our superstars over there. So we're hoping that they'll start moving out.
You have some good people there.
Yeah, we have really good staff that are over there taking care of our cats and even just running that first store. So it's a good thing. Here, I did list, if you guys are interested in the amount of transport organizations that we are using. I listed those all in the paperwork as well. You can see that not all of them are in Texas. We are transporting to Oregon and Colorado, Idaho, all over the place. So we're definitely branching out because it's just, we have a lot of animals and we need a place to put them. So, yeah. Let's see. I also put on here the amount of citations that we've given. If you want to look that over as well. You can see that our running at large citations are our most popular.
So if someone gets cited for running at large, I know the fines and citations are different, but what's kind of a ballpark?
For fines?
Yeah, for your dog is run out large, spot gets picked up, gotta go see the judge.
So I think in that
$132.
There you go. There you go.
And it's not, but it's more normal than not that there's 2 or 3 offenses for the same dog with the same person.
Yeah, we do see that quite often. So
Do we have a
I mean,
leash law by any chance?
a leash law, yes.
We do?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And we have a scoop law.
A what?
A scoop law?
Yes,
Okay.
yeah, that's harder to enforce because you kind of have to
Yeah,
catch them in the act.
I know.
I can't recall ever actually writing one. I've had that conversation with people about, you gotta clip, somebody saw,
Gotcha.
saw it happen, but it's kind of hard to enforce.
There's a lady that walks down having a need. She's always got a little bag with her. And the other day I stopped and complimented her for it.
Yeah.
Because her dog was pooping and needed, she pulled that bag out.
There's several people that are definitely doing that, so
That's
we do
wonderful.
appreciate it.
And we have some bags also at the park.
Yeah.
I wonder.
Those are being utilized. Another neat thing that you can probably see is that we put 91 microchips in animals this year, which is just a fraction of, the animals that are here. But if you think about it, that's 91 just for the public. Every animal that leaves our shelter is also chipped. So we are just microchipping everything. This helps, it's also going to help with our live release rate. If we can get an owner in contact with an owner quick, it keeps them out of our shelter and is not only good for the animal, but good for us. So we like that, and we are definitely encouraging it.
Is it very expensive?
It's $15 if you get it done at the shelter.
You think they do that at the vets when they had the surgery,
Yeah,
See,
yeah, and they
they're done.
offer it, but it's a little bit more pricey after that clinics. But we'll do it at the shelter, and it's real quick, and
So I can have friends bring their animals in there? You can. Thank you. That's good to know.
we do it.
I think we need to get the word out that a lot of people think of microchip is very expensive and stuff like that. I took most of mine there, it's on squeeze,
Yeah.
Yeah.
cheap.
Yeah, it's a done deal, and it's easy, and, we'll register them right there, and it's a lifetime, chip, so you don't have to do it again, and,
So if they're picked up then, that way you know who the owner is right away. And you can
Yes.
call and say, give me my $132.
Sometimes that doesn't help.
Well, nicely.
Yeah, sometimes they do get a citation even though they're chipped, they're not. So they just don't get that no microchip
Gotcha.
citation. So, anyway, I also put in here our, just for general knowledge is how many cremations we've done. I know that most of y'all know that that's something that we do provide. And we do it a lot. We're doing cremation every week, several times a week, and it is a good thing that we have here in our community. So just wanted to put those numbers in there as well.
How much does that cost?
It depends on the price of the weight of the animal, what the price is going to be. It starts anywhere from $90 and can go up to $170. And that's for private cremation. Our communal prices are a little bit cheaper than that. We do have our prices posted on the city website as well, so pretty easy. And then I also included our bites. I know you guys have been getting when I do my monthly reports and then my quarterly reports, you guys do get the kind of rundown of the bites that are occurring in town. If you guys ever have any questions about that, I'm sure that you guys appreciate seeing, our stats on that. I don't think that 29 bites is a lot for a small town. We'd like to have 0. That would be our goal, but it may not ever happen because a lot of our bites are provoked. So that is people accidentally handling an animal they shouldn't and whatnot. So, but our unprovoked bites are going to be the ones that we want to try and avoid, and that's hopefully keeping the animals off the streets and out of the situations where they might end up fighting somebody. So.
Do you know that out of 29, how many were unprovoked?
It's actually almost 50-50.
It is 50/50.
Yeah, almost. Yeah, it's a little bit more, I believe, on the unprovoked side, but yeah, it's pretty close, and it also varies between cats and dogs as well. We have a lot of our provoked bites are actually cats, which was interesting.
Yeah. Okay. Very good.
And And then last but not least, I think the last thing that I had on here was just kind of talking about our relationship with the Humane Society. So some of this information you may already have known, some of y'all may not have known this, but they do provide a lot of service for our city shelter. They do buy our dog food. They pay for spay and neuter of all of our animals, their rabies vaccinations, and occasionally they will pay for a big medical bill if we have something. They've helped us with heartworm positive dogs in the past, which can range anywhere from $700 to $1,000. So that's a really big deal. We appreciate them doing that for us. They also have a couple of employees at the shelter now. They're based out of the shelter. They are strictly there for enrichment. So they come in 5 days a week and they take dogs into play groups, they walk them, they go into the cat room, socialize with them, and also take pictures for us so that they can post them on petfinder.com for promotion of the animals. So that has been a really good thing. It also helps us get to know these animals a little bit better because our staff unfortunately doesn't have the time to go out there and really get that enrichment for those animals that they need. So having those extra people out there has really helped us get to know these animals and better place them in adoptable homes. So, another thing is they are responsible for paying the financial part of our transport. So moving these animals to either an airport or to other facilities within Texas, they have been paying for gas and things like that. So that has been a huge thing for us. If we didn't have those transports, we probably would have a very much lower live release.
So there was a restructure of the Alpine Humane Society, was there not? I read about.
Yes.
Has it had any impact on your relationship with them?
I don't believe it's going to. No, Janine, who's the executive director, has been very forward with things that go on, and if there's any changes, when she does come out, she does ask if we need anything. They've been so far very supportive, even with the changes. So we'll see what happens if things change with what has changed on their end. But so far, so good.
Super. Good.
All right. Any questions for me?
Big report.
Thank you,
All right.
Sharon.
Thank you.
Council, we're gonna,
It's Eddie's turn.
Eddie and I are gonna run through a couple.
Streets. Wow, that's not a good painting picture.
Part of what Eddie and I had pulled together for you all. A couple weeks ago, Eddie and I went out and spent quite a bit of time in the field and took that spreadsheet that had both the ratings from KSA and then Eddie's makeup of those. And he and I really looked at identifying the high priority rebuilds across the city and narrowed that down to 51 blocks. And so that was what was represented in your packet, both in map format as well as the spreadsheets themselves. And, you know, as Eddie and I were kind of meandering through, we were really talking about seal coating and where, as he's directing his team, where they best would seal coat around the blocks that we need to rebuild. So, you know, that being said, we really saw kind of a high area of ability in the northwest and the southeast parts of the city. So the the idea is right now we don't know an absolute cost on the 51 blocks. And so as Eddie and I were brainstorming the other day, we said, you know, let's just go out to RFP on all of them. and see what that cost looks like. So that's really what we've broken down on this slide is we're going to go ahead and RFP all of them and divide them up into sections. So if you remember when Lance Jarrett was here, one of the things that he requested, and I'm sorry this map didn't show up on the slide, but if you just kind of look at the map that was in your packet, if you section these things out, then he knows where he's going to mobilize his material, and then he can do them at a lower price per square foot for us. And so really we would be looking at 6 different sections there. And then we'll basically take the output of that when the RFP comes back in January 24th. We'll navigate through that and then be able to identify from a cost perspective. At that point, Megan will have strong understanding of where we're at on our fund balances and our ability to do any sort of net equity transfer. What else do you think, Eddie?
I got a couple of things I want to go over you right quick. Half of those blocks that me and Eric survey have good surveys, so that's going to save us in cost. The other half, well, you know, they're going to have to be rebuilt with new sub-base. You know, back in the day, they didn't have resources to put base or building equipment. So basically, you just work with what you had, try to get a good compact and pay it. In the past, we've been using that MS2 emulsion oil. Reason being that a lot of people use it. I think the county still uses it because it's an emulsion oil that you can dilute like 20%, and you prime your streets before paving. And then you actually shoot it with 100% MS2 oil. But we want to try something new. We want to try that. It's called CRS2 oil, which is strictly a paving oil. It sets better. MS2 takes at least 3 to 4 hours to set and cure, and it doesn't like humidity. So basically, on a real humid day, you can't pave because they're already wrapped. But CRS2, like I said, is basically an asphalt oil. We do still want to use MS2 oil because you got some streets that have what you call alligator cracks. So you want to go in there with the MS2 oil and seal those cracks. So when you come back and pave, you get a better bond through your aggregates. Reason being that, you know, after you do your paving, you only have about your street winds up being about an inch thick, and that's your street. So it's very important that you get a good solid bond. Another thing that we want to try is before we go in there and actually, there's some streets that, as you know, there have been pads, they're kind of bumpy. We want to go in there with our blade and do what you call a tight blade, smooth it out, because the smoother your road is, before you pave, the better, the smoother road you're going to have after paving. So there's just a few things that differently that we want to try out. Now, CRS2 is a little bit expensive, but I think it's well worth it. And that's pretty much it. You guys have any questions?
So I do, Eddie. And some of it's up in my neck of the woods, so I'm pretty sensitive to where the streets are. And Hancock is one you're looking at, particularly on the west side of the loop as it hits down the hill, all that water drainage. On the one, there aren't curbs in a lot of those cases. In some cases, people will put up railroad ties because of the amount of water that flows through there. Is there a strategy to work that? I know further down you actually valleyed it as opposed to gravel, which I thought was great. So that's going to be part of your plan as well, to look at water drainage, particularly in the high runoff areas?
Yes, definitely, yes. Most of those streets with that problem will probably wind up inverting those streets. I think it's a solution. If you don't want to curb your streets, that's the next best thing to do is invert your streets, keep the water going down the middle of the street, yes.
Yeah, okay, good. There are some streets, and as I do my own riding around, Some didn't make the list, and I understand why, so that's not an issue. Is your game plan to still continue on doing some of the pothole patches and fill some in? And I'll use, for example, on Bird. You're gonna do, Hancock all the way in, but Bird, I've been out there with my own mix, filling in some of those holes, but there's one probably as big as this table now. It
Yeah.
needs some attention. So what's the best way to get that information? Just call it into you or get into the city, and then you can figure out how to put that in this next year?
Yeah, I think on something like that, that is something again that we've been looking at. We want to go in there with our asphalt zipper and
Okay.
do mill at least, say, 20, 30-foot radius, and then come back and pave this.
Okay.
Because there's some areas that, yes, you patch, you come back and you have to patch
Yeah.
constantly, so that would eliminate all that.
Okay, good. Thank you. This was good to me. I like the strategy.
There are 7 sections, right?
Oh, I'm sorry,
It's okay, I just want to make sure I wasn't seeing things. Thank you.
You're seeing,
No doubt.
And if you can see on those sections, they're pretty much spread all over the boards, so that will eliminate, citizens, your citizens coming in and saying, well, you only did this part of town.
awesome. Thank you, Ed.
Very good. Yeah, thank you.
Nice.
On to public hearings. Public hearings to obtain citizens' views and comments on ordinance 2019-12-01, sale of property of 10,454 square feet or .240 acres of East Brown Avenue, Alpine, Texas, east of North Harrison Street terminus. Legal description of .240 acres of land out of Survey 101, Lot 9GH and SARY.CO, Surveys Brewster County, Texas, being a portion of unimproved Brown Avenue right-of-way, City of Alpine, Texas, to Paul Tanksley, 802 North Harrison.
Public hearing for anyone to voice any thoughts or
Yes, please.
concerns.
I just have a question.
Go ahead and step up to the podium, sir. Address your name and what ward you live in, please.
Name is Ellis Quiet, and I live right across the street from the Brown extension that goes up there and it's going to be for sale. I was just wondering, how is that going to be classified as residential or business or what? We have an awful lot of traffic on Harrison all the time, especially in the mornings. And we have an awful lot of people that are walking, jogging, taking their dogs out and everything else. I'm just wondering, how is it going to be classified as residential? What?
City manager, can you answer that?
this is
But
public
public
comment.
hearing, so I'll be able to answer that when we get to the ensuing action item in the agenda. So right now, it's just a public hearing.
Oh, okay.
So citizens can come up and voice the opinion. Council or myself can't respond, but when we
Okay.
get to the action item, which will follow here probably in the next 10, 15 minutes.
Okay, I have no, like I said, I live right across the street and that's fine to sell it, but, if they're gonna, if it's gonna be, business, commercial, that's gonna put an awful lot of in and out traffic and everything. But if it's just gonna be an extension of whatever, of somebody's property and, that's great. I just curious, I came by earlier and asked to talk to somebody and, well, won't be in until sometime this afternoon, and that time that afternoon, I was busy and I didn't get back. So I was just wondering.
Don't worry, next time that comes up, give me a jingle. Okay? Next time that comes up, give me a call. I just live right up the road on your council.
Okay. Thank you,
Yes,
guys.
sir, appreciate it.
Yep.
Item B, I think that was yours.
Yes. Public hearing to obtain citizens' comments, views and comments on ordinance 2019-12-02, amending fiscal year 2019-2020 budget for the city of Alpine. Anybody would like to make a comment, public hearing on this item?
Okay.
You want to take a swipe at C? Okay. C is a public hearing to obtain citizens' views and comments on ordinance 2019-12-03, an ordinance of the City Council of the City of Alpine, Texas, amending ordinance 2015-07-01, City Council, City Meeting Rules and Procedures, amending Chapter 23, City Council, Article 2, Rules of Procedure. So public hearing, any comments on that?
Seeing none. Okay, let's move on to item 7, consent agenda. Minutes, financial reports, department written reports, board appointments, etc. City manager.
Consent agenda, we have one item tonight, item A, approval of minutes from city council meeting on November 19, 2019.
Okay, yes, sir.
Mr. Mayor, I move that we approve the consent agenda as written.
Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, motion's been made and second. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, raise your right hand. Opposed, like sign. Motion carries. Thank you. Okay. Notice to the public, the following items are routine and it's kind of backwards here. The following items are routine administrative nature. The council has been furnished with background support material needs and already has been discussed at a previous meeting. All items will be acted upon by one vote without being discussed separately unless requested by city council member. In which event, item or items will immediately be withdrawn for individual consideration in its own sequence. After the items not requiring separate discussion have been acted upon, the remaining items will be adopted by one vote. Okay, then we've already voted on those items, and it's just backwards. It's
Instead of just trip you up there.
well, that's about the third time it happens. Okay, number 8, information or discussion items. There's none. And number 9, action items to be accompanied by brief statement of facts including where funds are coming from if applicable. Action items limited up to 10 where funds are coming in, up to 10, per meeting after being called upon by the mayor and mayor pro tem. Citizens are required to state their name and the ward in which they reside. Priority will be given to the citizens of Alpine and those who own business or property of the city. Individuals who do not live in or own business or property in the city limits of Alpine will be allowed to speak at this time available. Item 1, city manager.
Yes, Mayor. Item 1 is to discuss, consider, and take appropriate action on first reading of ordinance 2019-12-01, sale of property of 10,454 square feet, 0.240 acres of East Brown Avenue, Alpine, Texas, east of North Harrison to street terminus, the unimproved portion of East Brown Avenue, north of lots 1 through 3, block 7, Hancock C addition. Honorable Mayor, City Council, is the survey, the appraisal were included in your packets. And just to answer the one question from the gentleman, it will be zoned R1, which is the adjoining property. It's just purely for his expansion of his residential property. Okay.
Yes, sir.
So I move that we approve the first reading of the ordinance 2019-12-01 for the sale of the property as listed, formerly East Brown, the unimproved portion of that, at a value of $8,600. That it be zoned R1, which the city manager's gone through. And the other, I want to make sure the city easements are protected, of which there is a sewer and gas line on there as well. The reason I know about it, I'm in the middle of it, it's part of our file.
Very good. Okay, is there a second?
I'll second it.
Okay, several seconds. Okay, any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, raise your right hand. Opposed, like sign, motion carries. Item 2, city manager.
Honorable Mayor and City Council, item 2 is to discuss, consider, and take appropriate action on the first reading of ordinance 2019-12-02, amending fiscal year 2019-2020 budget for the city of Alpine. The information was included in your packet. We went through the draft. We did make the one change where we added the monies in for the Family Crisis Center. Outline that.
Yes, sir.
Mr. Mayor, I move we approve the first reading of ordinance 2019-12-02, amending the fiscal year 2019-2020 budget for the city of Alpine at a value of $13.2 million.
So I'll second.
Okay, motion's been made and second. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, raise your right hand. Opposed, like sign, motion carries. Item 3.
Honorable Mayor and City Council, item 3 is to discuss, consider, and take appropriate action on the first reading of ordinance 2019-12-03, an ordinance of the City Council of the City of Alpine, Texas, amending ordinance 2015-07-01, City Council meeting rules of procedure, amending Chapter 23, City Council, Article 2, rules of procedure. This would accomplish two things. Earlier in the summer, council had passed a resolution allowing for public comments. And this Cynthia Salas and I looked back through, there was a statement in there that we would come back and amend the ordinance. So that coupled with some requests that we've had from the community, Mr. Jim Street's here, Mr. Dale Christofferson, as well as several others have asked about accessibility to the packets. And so we talked about that at the November 19th meeting. So the second piece of this ordinance would then allow an electronic version of the packet, redacting any legal or personnel matters from the packet to be put online 24 hours in advance, so that citizens would have access. Thank you.
Well, Mr. Mayor, I move that we approve ordinance 2019-12-03, which amends our ordinance 2015-07-01 and amends Chapter 23 of City Council Article 2 Rules of Procedure that incorporates release of the package to the community 24 hours prior to the City Council meeting and ensures the provision that residents and citizens are able to speak about any item on the agenda during our City Council meeting.
Okay. Motion made and second. Any discussion?
I have a quick question. I was looking at the packet, we have some more information about the order of business, like what we get in our everyday packet and our every week packet. And on number 9, it's crossed out, the citizens are allowed to comment, all that, and that's not getting
So that
removed.
gets replaced by the new language that goes in, that's why it was removed.
So are people still gonna be able to get up and talk whenever we're discussing the action
Yep.
items? Okay, that's all I wanted to know.
You just got that.
All right.
Okay. Any more discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, raise your right hand. Opposed, like sign, motion carries. City manager.
All right, action item number 4 is to discuss, consider, and take appropriate action to approve resolution 2019-12-01 to accept the master parks plan for the city of Alpine Parks. The master plan was reviewed with Councilor is here, and we looked back through and said, well, we never really had a resolution from the city, which we need to apply for different grants and put the master parks plan on file with the city.
Yes, sir.
Mayor, I'll make the motion that we approve resolution 2019-12-01 to accept the Parks Master Plan for the city of Alpine Parks and at the same time compliment the Parks Board for their outstanding work on all the citizen engagement. It's a great plan that's really going to help me.
Yeah, did all that one. Okay, second, any discussion? Okay. And they have done a fantastic job on those parks. I know you can see the big change, turnaround, new equipment, they're very well maintained and stuff, so my compliments to the parks people and everybody involved, did a great job. Okay, all those in favor of the motion? Opposed, like sign, motion carries. Okay. Move on to item 10, city council member comments and answers. We'll start to my right.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you for coming. Thank you for coming. I'm really excited about the reports that we saw today and have the other employees here in the city. I really like that a lot.
So as we enter, this is our last city council meeting for the year, at least for the calendar year. So in my view, we certainly had a rocky start, but I think we're finishing stronger than the city ever has been. And it all because of leadership, the engagement, and the willingness to take action. We have a great city team, and so pleased that we've got all the new leadership on board and in place. And hope everyone has a really blessed Christmas holiday, and the new year will be even brighter, so thank you.
Thank you.
And then I want to thank everyone for coming, and we did cover a lot of material in a short span of time. Also, I'd like to compliment those that are responsible for the parade. Great success, very little sirens.
There were a couple in there.
It took a while, but.
And also the choir from Saul Ross, they rode the back of the fire truck where I was in. They were singing, and it engaged the public into singing.
Isn't that great when
So
that
it was
happens?
awesome, and thumbs up on it and everything, so fantastic Christmas parade. And with that said, I want to wish you all a happy holidays, be safe, and we'll see you next year. Thank you very much.
Thank you. All right.
Mr. Mayor, I move we adjourn the meeting.
You know, I'm an old curmudgeon, but watching kids sing makes me.
Means adjourned.